Hey, welcome back, podcast friends. Now, in this episode, we've already done a podcast on stacking, habit stacking. But since we did that podcast, we've been getting several questions from people want to know more examples of exactly what we're talking about. So we decided to tell everybody just kind of what we do. And this is something that we put together here. We actually redid this. We ended up doing this probably about every 3-4 years. We kind of look at it again. But one thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to line out everything that we have read and learned about and things that we know is supposed to be really good for our health. We just sat down one day and just made a whole list of everything that we really wanted to do. And just rambling without any thought, just kind of put it down on paper, all these things that we've heard that are really good. And once we did that, it was kind of overwhelming. We thought, my gosh, there is a lot of stuff here. So the way we thought we'd do this is we've already talked. If you listen to our podcast number 76, it's called "Do First Things First." That was a podcast that my wife Theresa and I did, and talking about the difference between values, goals, and priorities. And basically, your values are the big things in your life that you want to make sure you don't want to end your life saying, I should have done this and I should have done that, which, like Tony Robbins says, that's called shooting all over yourself. And you don't want to end your life shooting all over yourself. So in episode 46, we talked about how our values, 76. Oh, I'm sorry. Episode 76 on Do First Things First. We explained why our values, we wanted the 5 that we had, we call them our firstlies. And it's financially, intellectually, relationally, spiritually, and trained physically. Those are our firstlies. Those are the 5 things that we want to make sure that we hit this every single, if not every day, at least every week. We want to hit something towards these major values. And so what we did, we took those and we wrote down all our goals, and then we put our goals underneath each of these values. And then once you have your goals underneath each of the values, then you can look at each of those values or each of those goals and prioritize which ones are the most important, which ones are the ones you can do really quick so you get momentum, anything. I won't go into that because that was all talked about on 76. The only reason I brought that up is because in this episode, we did the same thing. We took that whole list of all the things that we know we should be doing for our health, and we broke those into our firstlies, to make sure that once we're doing this, we're also hitting our values as well. So the way we're going to do this is first, we're just going to go through all the things that we thought was very important for us to do every day. And we're going to explain why we thought those are important. And then we'll get into the stacking after that, how we took this huge list and how we stacked it. So it really was very easy. You put it down into the bite-sized pieces, just like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's kind of how this is. So that's what we're going to do. First, we'll just talk about what we think is extremely important for us to do every day or every week. And then we'll go through how we stacked them. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just thinking, we didn't talk about this, but we had that video. This was years ago, 6-7 years ago, right, that we made a video talking about our first things first and how we got the idea from Stephen Covey, right? Yeah, Stephen Covey talking about the big rocks. And so I'll link that. It's an older video and kind of explaining, it's a visual for how you can think about if you aren't sure what your values are, which you really do know what they are. It's the things you definitely try to get done most of the time. But anyway, so this video will show that. And so it just is a really good visual to help with that.
And I don't remember what it's titled. Oh, I don't remember. It's on YouTube. It may be called something like Big Rocks.
Yeah, I can attach it. So
okay,
I'll put it in the comments below.
So what we did, and we'll go through and like we said, first what we did, we just wrote down all these without any thought, just wrote them all down on paper. Then we went through and we put them underneath our values to make sure that what we were doing was also going to be aligned with our values. So we'll go through our values and what we have under each one of these, and we'll kind of explain them. And then, like I said, after this, we'll go into stacking about what we did. So the first one, like we said, financially, because, you've got to keep your finances in shape, whatever that means. You don't want to be striving for when your next meal is or how you're going to pay bills or anything like that. You want to be financially sound. And so that's something you have to work on constantly. It's a never ending thing. So for us, that's one thing that we did in our list that we made is one, I wanted to be able to work 4 to 6 hours every single day, totally with no interruptions. So, if you go to work every day, if you work an 8, 10, 12-hour job, whatever you work, when you go to work, there's a lot of time that you're not actually working. You're spending it getting coffee, visiting with friends, talking about other things within your job, but not really that has anything directly pertaining to what you're having to do. So anyway, there's a lot of wasted time. So 4 to 6 hours, if I can sit here 4 to 6 hours totally unencumbered and just work on what I need to work on, it can be very, very productive, especially if I treat it like a school, like a class. We never schedule anything during these times. This is the time for me to work. And then the other one is our budget. Because of financially, we've got a budget that we live under, and just to make sure we go through every single week, just 1 day a week, and it doesn't take very long at all. I mean, it's very little time, just to check our budget, make sure that our spending is within where we want to be, and all that. So if we do this every single day, where we look at our budget once a week, I work every single day, 4 to 6 hours. If we can do this, then by the end of our life, we can look back financially and think, oh, financially, we kept track of where we were. So there were no surprises.
Yeah. And so we'll move on to intellectually. So that's the FI. So intellectually, one of the things that we have is that we want to read every day. And so I know you have 10 pages. I don't have as long as I read every day, I'm okay. But he's very, marks it off. And I don't want anybody thinking that we do things perfectly, because we definitely do not.
Oh, no.
And even like this week, you're behind.
Oh, yeah. I was way behind this week.
We actually, we were more tired this week, and because we have to get up early to do a lot of these things. And so we decided a couple of mornings to sleep in a little later. So he knew something was going to have to be not done. And that was one of those, was the reading.
And actually I pick up extra work on the outside also, which goes to financially, but it just so happened this week I was there for all 5 days for 9 hours every day. Right. So that's why I fell blind. But as far as the pages, this is something that we got from, who is it that wrote The Slight Edge? Jeff Olson.
Yeah, Jeff Olson.
Jeff Olson from The Slight Edge. Wonderful book. But this is something we got from him, because there's so many books that you'd love to read, and it takes time. So he said, even if you only read 10 pages a day, if you just do that, it's amazing. So that's 3,650 pages that you read in a day, in a year's time. So you can get a lot of books read. So I know there's a lot of days that I can't read a full 10 pages, and there may be some days that I can read more. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying I really need to read 10 pages every day, I say I need to read 70 pages every week, because sometime during that week I can catch up. But like she said,
the weekends.
The weekends I catch up, or the days I don't actually work outside the house, I can catch up a little bit. But anyway, so that's reading. Okay, so I wanted to read 70 pages a week. We wanted to work 4 to 6 hours nonstop. We wanted to do our budget. And the other thing that we want to do for intellectually is listen, learn. Besides the reading, there's so many fantastic books and podcasts out there. And my wife gets to, and we'll talk about that on Stacking. My wife gets to listen to a lot more podcasts than I do, or she prioritizes her time to listen to a lot more podcasts and books than I do. And so this was an important one to me, because I really, she's telling me all these great things she's learned from podcasts, and I want to hear them. I just haven't put that into my time. So I decided I'm going to start putting that in my time now also. So then that leads us to relationally. That's our third big rock, our third letter of our first leads, and that's relationally. And so this is another thing that I think is extremely important. I know that's, a big thing why God put us here on earth, not to be by ourselves, but to have friendships and help other people out, and to communicate with all the people around you and wherever. So we always get together with family and friends. We love doing this, and I definitely try to do this at least every week. And so that's one thing. Once a week, I want to get together with either family or friends for a night, and just spend time just getting to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, making memories.
Oh yeah, making memories. That's a big thing that's in my mind all the time. Is that's what life's all about, is making good memories.
Yeah.
And folks, and using those memories to focus on the positive, because there's so many negative things people can focus on, and it does no good. Focusing on the negative does nothing. Realize it's there, don't put any emotion to it. Just let the positive win out, because that's, in the end, that's how it's going to win, is the ones that can think of everything positively, constructively, see things as not as a wall, but just as something that you have to learn how to get around, go through, or whatever. But anyway, so keeping a positive mindset is extremely important. And so along with the relation, that's another thing, is we want to keep in contact with our boys. We've got 2 adult boys. One's 27 and one's 30. Will be 31 next month. And not that we call them all the time. I guess Theresa, my wife, does. She talks to the boys probably every week. But one thing that we do is there is a little game that we play every single morning. Every single morning, we'll hear our phones go off, or they'll hear theirs go off. And it's a game called Wordle. It's just a game that you can plug in Google and do Wordle. But it's something where we all do it. All 4 of us do it. And we'll do Wordle, and all you do is you do this game, and then when you're done, you hit send, and it goes out to the other 3 of us. So that one little thing that keeps us in contact with our boys every single day, we don't even have to talk to them. But just the fact that they sent it, one, they're alive, because we don't know that. One lives in Boise, Idaho, and one lives in Kansas City, Missouri, and we live in Springfield, Missouri. So we know they're alive. We know they're cognizant. Their brain is functioning well enough to be able to play a game and remember there's a game playing. So this one little act that we do really gives us a good, strong bond with our boys. And again, we talk to them, talk to them on the phone a lot, and then we visit all the time also. So there is that. But this is just one thing that we do every single day that's just a really quick contact. Say, yep, our boys are alive. They're doing well. And we can go on our day. Yeah. We all 4 of us like it. It's so fun in the morning, waking up, and around 5:30 or 6, we're going to hear our phones going ding, ding, because our boys have just played the game.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's another thing with the relationship. And then the other thing is we love our personal time. That's one thing with all the stuff that we do. We try to have everything done by 4:00, 4 p.m. We'll talk about all these things that we're talking about right now. We have them done before 4:00, because after 4, that's Theresa and I's time to be together, to do whatever, whether we're going to go out with some family, whether we're going to go out with friends, or whether we're just going to snuggle at home. Doesn't matter. We're together. That's our personal time. And so we try to make every evening something for ourselves. And we know people have kids and they have sports and all this. We did that. We totally understand that. We aren't telling you this is what you should do. We're just saying this is what we did. These are the things we thought were important, and we were trying to figure out how to stack them so we could get all this stuff done.
Right.
So,
and then spiritually, so we got now our FIRS. So spiritually, so in the mornings when we do the reading, another reading is a daily devotional and the Bible. And so we're both reading a chapter of the Bible. He did it for years, and I never read all the Bible. And I recently, a couple months ago, decided I was going to start reading. And so we both started in Matthew. And so we read the same chapter every day. And so we do that.
Her and I read the same chapter. It's not like we read the same chapter out of the Bible every day.
What do you mean?
So we read the same chapter every day.
Oh, okay.
Or that's what.
Okay, I got you. I see. Anyway, so we do that. So I just recently started that, and then daily devotionals, which I've just ordered one. So that'll be coming. So you already do. You already do too.
And I never, even though I've been reading a chapter of the Bible every day for the last, 4 years or something like that, I've never ever said anything to Theresa about it. She knows what I'm doing, and she does her reading and everything. So it's like she came along whenever she wanted to. So again, if you're doing something, and this kind of goes back to the whole getting healthy, and we've already done a podcast on this also, but I mean, a lot of times you don't have to force your significant other to do something with you. If you're doing something that is good, and you show that you're getting great results, you're feeling better about yourself, you got a positive attitude, you'll bring others along with you just because of that, because people are attracted to that kind of
and setting the example.
Right. Just setting the example.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing we do. So for spiritually, we do our daily devotionals like that, read the Bible. And then obviously we go to church every week.
And we go to church, and we just joined a life group.
Oh yeah. We just joined a life group through our church group, which is another thing, just another step of figuring out what's important to you and continue to grow in that. And so that's what we thought we could grow as far as spiritually, is just getting in a life group and actually start learning more about God.
Right.
But
Okay.
and then, so that was financially, intellectually, relationally, spiritually. And we forgot back on relationally. Another thing, I put giving blood under that because that's another thing I want to do is I want to give blood every time it's time for me to give blood again, which is like every 6 weeks or so. I can go. And that's just my way of also giving back to people who are truly in need. So it's relationally doesn't even have to be the people you're with. So this is for anybody who's in a major accident or any kind of surgery and they're needing blood, then I want to do what I can do to help them as well. But anyway, so that was relationally, and then we talked about spiritually, and then the last one is trained physically. And on this one, we had quite a few things because most of the stuff that we read is around this. So these are the things that we lined out saying we need to do this and this and this. So one of them, we want to start our day out early because we know we want to end our day at 4 and we know we want to go to bed a little bit early so we can start our day out early. So that's something we've always wanted to do. We don't want to sleep in, get our day started off early, and we'll explain another reason why we want to do start out early. But anyway, that was one of our things. Start our day out early. And then
And then then drink our water.
Okay. Trying to do
I was trying to do this without glasses, and it's not working out so well. So drink our daily amount of water, which is your body weight, your ideal body weight.
Right. Your ideal body weight. So if you weigh 250 pounds and you should weigh 180, then your ideal body weight would be the 180. And then half that, which would be 90, and that'd be the number of ounces of water you should be drinking every day. So that's something important to us. We want to get on our daily maintenance of water because we know most people walk around dehydrated, because they drink diuretics all day long. They have things with caffeine in it, things with sugar in it, or things with alcohol in it. And all three of those are diuretics. So we need to have more water and not just diuretics.
Right. So we need to take our supplements, and we do not take many supplements, and that's very personal to everybody. Everybody's different. So we just have a few things that we take. And then we want to walk. We want to go outside and walk if the weather permits. I'm
right. And I did a whole podcast on this. We'll talk about walking in just a little bit because there's really a lot of things good with that. Mm-hmm. The other thing is we've been hearing a lot here lately in the last year or two, talking about the circadian rhythm and watching the sun come up, being outside and watching the sun come up, and also being outside and watching the sun go down. And those two things from the day going from dark to light in the morning and from light to dark in the evening, those things help set our circadian rhythm. So it's where the sun is and how it hits our eyes. And that sets our circadian rhythm, which is the whole biological clock of how our whole bodies work. And so we really wanted to start doing that. And they have found there is a difference of being actually out in the sun versus just watching the sun come up and go down through a window. There's difference. You really need to be outside. So we wanted to kind of put this as one of the things we start doing too, because we weren't doing that. Mm-hmm. Right. And then vitamin D, especially, again, I've been a doctor of pharmacy for 33 years. I was in the hospital setting. I was in the hospital setting during the whole COVID issue time. And that's one of the things that we really found out is people are extremely deficient on vitamin D. And vitamin D is so important for so many things in the body. And vitamin D, the healthiest vitamin D, obviously, is straight from the sun. The sun hits your skin, and that's what starts the whole vitamin D process, going through the different stages of vitamin D. But this is something very important because you have to get out in the sun. And just like our food companies and drug companies have done, where they've taken their business model and basically pushed it off on all of us and lied to us, cheated, everything to get us doing. And one of the things also of putting more chemicals in our body is all these sunscreens. They've got everybody so scared of the sun and thinking that everybody has to have all these sunscreens all the time, which is absolutely wrong. These sunscreens have chemicals in it. You shouldn't be putting that on your sun. You need to get on your skin. You need to get the sun on your skin. Do not burn. So be smart about it. If you're out in the sun, just stay out until you kind of get warm and get a little color. But if you start to burn, come inside. And then your body will get used to that. And the next time you'll be able to go out just a little bit longer and then a little bit longer. But if you have to use sunscreen, that's fine, but realize you shouldn't be using
and look for the
sunscreen
healthy,
on your.
and just use healthier brands.
Right. There are chemicals there are a lot of them that have chemicals that are very damaging, and they do absorb in your skin. They do cause issues. So just be careful of what you use. And along with that, besides the vitamin D, is just ultraviolet light. There is so much information out right now about how important ultraviolet light and red light are. And so they have all these red light bulbs, red light therapy, ultraviolet light therapy. But by far, and they all admit, by far the best is natural sun. No sunscreen, out in the sun with natural sun on your skin. You're going to get your vitamin D, your UV light, your red light, all these things. And there's a ton of information on how that affects your whole body. It goes deep inside, and it actually affects your organs on the inside. Way more than we're going to go to on this podcast. Just we personally knew that this was extremely important. So this is something we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that we have written down here is sprinting. So we came across a doctor, Dr. Sean O'Mara. Sean is Sean and then Omara. And he teaches all about visceral fat. So that's the bad fat around your organs. And he talks about, won't go into all that, but you can definitely look him up because he's got so much great information. But he talks about sprinting. Now, Steve and I'm 59, Steve's 62. And so it's like we've had a few injuries from working out, not doing things properly. And so sprinting is one of those things you have to be very careful about doing. But
yeah, if you're not warmed up, you will pull a muscle yourself, and you could damage your joints. And so be smart about it.
So one of the things he does talk about, even just bicycling, you can be on your Peloton or whatever, and do that hard rowing. We've had a mini trampoline or one of those little rebounders for years. And so I've been on that. And so just figuring out ways, but getting our heart rate up as hard as you can for just seconds. I mean, he says there is research that shows the improvement in your visceral fat along with diet. And I know you can definitely lose weight without exercise, but this is a part of his program that he talks about where you lose weight, that midsection, and sprinting, getting your heart rate up just for seconds. I mean, he talks about 5 seconds to 30 seconds at a time. I mean, it is not much.
Yeah.
He's like, it is amazing what can happen. And he just kind of, you'll have to go watch him because he definitely tells it better than I do. But, even just back in, if somebody had animals or a farm or a ranch or something, and say some animals got loose, you would have to go run and catch them or, bring them back in. So that's one of the stories he gives. But it's like, so we need to be getting our heart rate up because nobody's getting their heart rate up. If you aren't intentionally working out, making a point of getting your heart rate up, nobody's doing it. I mean, it's obvious when you look around.
And it's actually called heart rate variability. It means how well is your body equipped to handle being at a resting heart rate and then going fast really quick, because that's usually what happens. When things happen and they set up your fight or flight, a lot of times it's things that happen immediately. There's a wreck or somebody fell or somebody's trapped or whatever. It happens quick. So if you can do this and keep your body in shape to where it can handle these bursts of adrenaline rushes, then the better off you're going to be. So for all the different reasons, it's just good to get a good heart rate variability where your heart can go up real fast. But then the important thing is that it comes back down really quickly also. And that's how when you do this, every day or at least every week, then you keep your body accustomed to that. So it'll go raise high like most people's will, but you can also get your heart rate to come back down a lot quicker. And that's very important.
Yeah. And he does stress. We called it sprinting. We don't sprint because we don't want to risk the injury thing, but
we get our heart rate up.
But we get our heart rate up. So anyway, so we just wanted to just mention that, and then also mention Dr. Sean O'Mara if you guys want to go check him out.
And then the next thing was meal planning. So again, we put this under train physically because train physically basically means you're doing everything for health. You're doing, your nutrition and your exercise and everything is all for your health. And so meal planning is one thing. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts, you realize weight loss and good health is 100% around 99% around what you eat. You have to give your body the nutrients it needs to live. And that's what we've always done until our dietary guidelines came out where they were lying to everybody saying that fat is what made you fat. And it wasn't an outright lie. at that time, they really, really did think that eating fat and eating cholesterol was bad for you. So that was fine at first, but now there's a ton of nutritional literature talking about that is totally not correct at all. Fat is extremely important, vital to life, and so is cholesterol. So now anything that they say now, it is lying to you, because it's very well known that eating fat and cholesterol are good. So anyway, meal planning. This is one thing that we've talked about, is how we plan our meals. Once a week, we plan all the food that we're going to eat for the next week. So that way we can go to the store and make sure it's in the house. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. And then we know that every meal's planned. However, things happen, whatever. You may get together with family or friends, or somebody gets sick, or whatever. Things happen throughout the week. So every day we also look at what we're going to eat that night or the night after that, so we can make sure that we're still on track with the meal plan that we planned out on the Sunday prior to that. So every day we meal plan so we know what we're going to eat that night and the night after that.
And every week.
Yeah. And every week.
Yep. So, and then of course, like he said earlier, we try to be in bed by 9:30 so we can be up at 5:30.
Right.
And when we do this, it is not an issue. It's like we are ready for bed.
Yeah.
Come 9:30, sometimes 8:30.
Right. But we really do try to get our 8 hours of sleep in. Sleep is so important. There's so many healthy things that your body does just during sleep. And I think I did a podcast on that a long time ago too.
Yeah.
Just on sleep. There's so many good things about that. But anyway, since one of our goals is to get up early, then another goal has to be getting to bed on time also,
right,
because sleep is so important. And then obviously the one that we, haven't really mentioned, but we do all the time, is working out. We do work out. If you're not used to working out, that's fine. If you can at least walk, but we do love working out. Working out is so important. When I say workout, I mean resistance training. I love to lift weights. We'll do a little bit of cardio, but again, with our back and our knees and all the things that have happened throughout life, lifting is a lot easier for me than going out and doing a big cardio.
Yeah.
But anyway, So that's what we did. Everything that we just now listed, and I know it was long, but that was all the things that we had laid down. Now our goal, we put these under our values, our firstlies, our financially, intellectually, relationally, spiritually, and trained physically. We put them under those. Now we had to figure out, how are we going to get all this in before 4:00 every day? So we broke it up. And the first thing we said is we want to get up early. So that was one of our things. We want to get up at 5:30. So as soon as we get up, we looked at our list and we thought, well, this is the perfect time to do our daily devotionals, start the day out right. This is also the time that we, daily devotionals and read the chapter of the Bible. It's, kind of all the same time. This is also when we play our games with our boys. As soon as we get up, we already know our boys are healthy, safe, and intellectual. And then, we plan our meals that morning, because we're sitting right there together in the morning. So that's the time that we plan our meals. And then that's also when we try to read 10 pages if we can, for our goal of 70 pages a week. So that's all the things that we do before we ever get out of bed, really, or we may get out of bed and then go sit on the couch, but it's still early. We're still drinking our coffee,
right,
and all that. Which is the other thing, when we drink our coffee, because we want to get our water in, which I think I'll talk about that later. So I'll try to drink a bottle of water while I'm sitting there waiting for the coffee to brew, so I can already get a jump start, because you're dehydrated from not drinking all night long anyway. So that's a good way to start off your day, is get your water in even before the coffee. Right. So that's our early morning before we ever get out of bed, or before we ever get up and get around. So daily devotionals, games with the boys, meal planning, and then read our 10 pages a day.
And then, like, at this time of the year, and we're up at 5:30, it is dark. And so a lot of times, even when we've done all those things, it's still dark outside, just because it's dark later right now. The time change hasn't happened. But then we want to go walk. And so this is where a lot happens.
Oh, walking is huge. And we didn't even realize it until we did this little exercise that we're talking to you about right now. When we walk, we could wipe out a lot of these just with that one thing.
Right. So we're walking, so we have movement and strength and balance, coordination. We're working on our lymphatic system.
And I talked about all this in episode 29. It's why is moving your body important for infection, nutrition, and swelling. and it is. And if you haven't heard that, you might want to do that, because walking, if you don't do any other activity, if you can at least get out and walk until you get your heart rate up. If that's the only activity you're really doing, walk until you get your heart rate up. That's how you know. So what may get a heart rate up for one person, another person, it may take a lot more than that to get their heart rate up. So it doesn't matter wherever you are physically and health wise, whatever it takes for you to get your heart rate up.
Right.
But
and then when we're out there, so the sun's coming up. So at this time of the year, it works out so that the sun is coming up after we've done these other things. And that's watching the sun come up for your circadian rhythm.
Right.
So you're getting your vitamin D, your UV light, your red light. Of course, we definitely don't wear sunscreen.
Vitamin D.
Oh, vitamin D, right.
We get all that just by getting up in the morning and walking out in the sun. We've wiped out all those. Vitamin D, UV light, red light, watching the sunrise for our circadian rhythm, walking for the improvement on our health, starting our day out early. And then a big one for me, like I said, Theresa listens to podcasts all the time, and I don't. So this is the perfect time for me to be able to listen. So when we go for a walk, we usually walk, 2 miles? Mm-hmm. It's just a real quick little 2 mile walk, nothing strenuous. We can do it in a half hour. And we'll do that. And while we're doing that, we'll listen to the same podcast. We both have our beats in and we listen to the same podcast. Right. And that's been wonderful for me, getting me to listen to a lot of these things. And that's how I actually end up giving more podcasts to you guys, because I listen to scientific podcasts and I try to make it more understandable.
Yeah. And then also maybe on the weekend, or I don't know, during the summer or whatever, but sometimes we'll listen to a book just for fun, just we're not wanting to learn anything. Yeah, sometimes you don't want to learn anything. So I just want to listen. And so we'll just listen to a book for enjoyment too. So,
and it really makes the walk go by so fast.
Right. So anyway, so we enjoy that.
And then speaking of fast, that's another thing. When we walk, and in all honesty, we have not done this yet, but we are going to start getting that into it once we kind of get our bodies back in shape again. But the sprinting. Yeah, so we decided that'd be the best time is on our walk, just find a little quick 10-second, 15-second and get our heart rate up.
Sprint. We have these little hills.
Yeah, we have little hills. We can go up the hills. So that's easier on our joints and we can still get our heart rate up.
Do that, yeah. I'm not doing it. Anyway, I've hurt my butt cheeks and sprinting would not help. That's why I've been rebounding. And so then I'll get some sprint, like, running in place with high knees and stuff. So that's what I'm doing, because that doesn't hurt me at all.
Did you already talk about the rebounder?
Yeah, okay. I brought it up. So anyway, so I don't know why it just showed up in my feed one day, because I was like, I'm never going to be able to do any, it would hurt just to even go for walks. And I don't know what happened, but anyway, then the rebounder kind of, these exercises started showing up. And I'm like, well, I already have one. So I started it, and it's just no pain anywhere. So it's just wonderful. So that's what I'm doing. And he hasn't started the sprinting yet, but it is on our list of things to do.
So now all these things we've already said, by getting up early and by walking, all these things are done within about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. The first 2 hours after we get up. Right. So now we get up at 5:30, 7:30. We've already got all this stuff done. So now it's time to just do our day program, go get cleaned up, take a shower and everything. And this, when we work for the 4 to 6 hours, unencumbered, we aren't listening to anything, there's turn off all electronics and just work for 4 to 6 hours. And you already feel great because you've already got up, you've had your workout, you've had your walk, we've done our daily devotionals, all that. And so we're ready to work at that time. And that's saying that we work that until 4:00. And at 4:00, we zone out, and it's time just for us. It's our relationally time after that, whether it's just us or us and family and us and friends. That happens at 4, and then again puts us back to where we go to sleep around 9:30 that night again.
Right.
So that's basically all those things we said for the first 27 minutes of the podcast. Mm-hmm. Those were all the things we thought were important, and we chunked this down to just 3 things. Getting up early, we have our things we could do during that. Walking, we had a lot of them we wiped out with that one little half hour thing we do there. And then the day program of what we do with our working. And we were able to put all of these and get those all stacked together in these 3 little things that we do every single day.
Right. And so we're going to give some other stacking examples. And I know we did a podcast on this called Built to Move. And I think that's actually the name of the podcast. And we did it last year, and it was a book that I had read, and it's also on stacking. So we're going to give some examples that we've incorporated into our life, and that they were examples that he had, because he was like, just like what we've been doing, you want to be stacking, but you don't want it, because you want to include new habits, because especially if you're trying to lose weight, you've got to get rid of old habits and you've got to bring in some new habits, but it can't take extra time. And what's the book by, is it James Clear? The habit book. I can't think of it, but he also talks about stacking, because it's hard to change habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
Atomic Habits.
And so it's hard to change your habits. So if you're already, like we're getting ready to talk about right now, you can go ahead and you can start with, because you're.
And we've already talked about this one, but we know that balance is very important, especially as you get older. The reason why a lot of people fall, they don't have lower body strength as they get older, because they don't eat enough protein. And so the body's stealing protein from their muscles, as well as some other things. But, and they don't have the balance. You totally lose your balance if you don't practice on it as you get older. So you're getting weaker and you start losing your balance. So that's one of the things that we wanted to do, is make sure that didn't happen to us. So one way that we found that we heard, when you can practice your balance, and I know I've already talked about this for those who listen to our podcast, but while I brush my teeth in the morning, I'll brush my teeth and I'll stand on one foot. And every 30 seconds, I'll switch to the other foot. So I switch back and forth every 30 seconds until my teeth are brushed. But that way, and then we're doing yoga in the mornings also. So we vary up what our exercise is, whether it's lifting or cardio or yoga. But so that helps with that balance also. So brush your teeth and balance it on one foot. That's one way you can stack.
And also, we like to watch TV at night. Sit on the floor. Don't have to, because we've gone the extreme with it, and then we really dread it because it was more than our bodies could handle. But if you don't sit on the floor, it is not comfortable at all. I don't care if you don't have any weight to lose or you have a lot of weight to lose. If you don't sit on the floor, it can be challenging, especially as you get older. Your hips start hurting, your knees start hurting, your back can hurt. So that's one of the things that he talked about, was sit on the floor. And so we'll move the coffee table, and we will so we decided, because we got to a point where we were trying to sit for like an hour, which was too long. I mean, we dreaded it.
Our bodies didn't like that.
Yeah, our bodies were not happy. So then we quit for a little while. So now we're back on it, but we're like, you know what? We're just going to do 10 or 15 minutes and we're fine. So if you need to sit on a pillow, which is very helpful, or if you have yoga blocks or anything, just sit on the floor. You don't have to sit Indian style. You can sit kind of with your legs over to the side or in front of you, or just anything sitting on the floor.
We actually move our legs around. We'll start off with our legs straight in front of us, and then we may curl one underneath us and leave the other one straight, and then vice versa, and then Indian style, just kind of different ways, because you also want to keep flexibility in your joints also, which is another reason. So strength, flexibility, and balance are the three reasons why elderly people tend to fall. And if you fall when you're elderly and you break a hip or something, you go into the hospital, that's not good. That a lot of times that's the last time you see some of these elderly people.
And you can sit on the floor for a minute. I mean, seriously, you can sit down and you'll be surprised as to really how challenging it can be. So,
and if you really want to challenge yourself, another thing that they say you should be able to do is be able to sit down on the ground and stand back up again without ever using your hands. So that's something that you can play with too if you want to, depending on where you are in your
don't hurt yourself.
Your goal. Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
And then you have on here to do. Steve every day does that's just one of the things early in the morning, but he does push-ups and pull-ups, because we have those pull-up bars in doorways. We have two different ones, and so they're just always right there. He does those every day, and then I hang. I can't do a pull-up, but I haven't made it a priority. Right. But I hang because Peter Attia said we should be hanging. It's very good for our grip strength. So I hang every day, try to get in a minute, which is hard. It's hard for me, but you have no issues hanging. But anyway, so that's another thing, is doing just push-ups, pull-ups. Oh, and you've also got sit-ups on here. So and then also while I'm cleaning the house, I also listen to podcasts at that time. So that's one of the ways that I hear more than Steve hears, is because I'm cleaning, I'm listening to podcasts. And then as I'm listening to them, I think, what would he think was interesting, or is there something new that I'm learning that I think he would like and be able to share on podcasts? So that's why I'd listen to a lot, to kind of help out.
And when she says cleaning, she means cleaning somebody else's house. So just think, if she's cleaning our house, I am also cleaning our house with her. Well, Didn't want anything.
You-
I'm sitting around while you're
No.
cleaning the house. It's like, what a waste.
You help a lot with the house. I didn't mean that. But anyway,
Oh, I know.
okay. Anyway, so and then also when we're in our car, we listen. We
Yeah.
listen, especially for traveling. We don't so much just. I do in town. I will listen if I'm just driving to the store or stuff. I listen to podcasts. You don't.
And I've started kind of doing it more now that I've been listening to podcasts on our walks. Now it's gotten me more into listening to podcasts on my drive to and from my job also. And the other thing is this is something we heard from both Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, and actually a lot of people, but having a mobile library. It was bigger back when cars had the same thing back when they had cassette players or they had CD players or everything. So we had a lot of things that we would listen to on that, but now we have our podcast. Yeah. So we can listen to podcasts, listen to books and everything. So we listen to that in the car, especially if we go on long trips, those are great times to get in a lot of this information. You're just driving anyway. Instead of listening to music, put on something that you're really interested in, that where it's going to actually, advance you intellectually.
Right. Yeah. And also walking on the treadmill. So if you can't get outside for whatever reason, you don't have a nice area where you can walk, then you could always do that on the treadmill. And then you can learn on listening to podcasts and things, or you can watch television. You used to do cardio on the treadmill, and he would watch Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
And so because he hated cardio.
I did.
And you're now that's stacking right there. We didn't even know you were stacking.
That's right.
Before we knew it was a thing.
Tried to make it fun. So I watched Andy Griffith while I ran, and it did make it fun. It made the run go by really quickly.
Right. So anyway, so it just, who do we talk? We were just talking to somebody, and she was saying, oh, who was, and anyway, and she was saying that she watches her trash TV. So the reality TV, she can only watch it whenever she is on the treadmill or the stationary bike or something. We were just talking anyway, which I thought was perfect. It's like there, she can watch her reality shows and she's getting in her cardio or some movement. So anyway, so there's an idea there. And
then trying to get the water in. We talked about how important water is. So that's one thing we've got a water bottle. So instead of thinking I've got to get this many ounces in every day, I just know how much water I have. So I've got a water bottle that I use, and I know it's 30 ounces. So for me, I know that I need to get 3 of these in a day. And if I have a hard workout or something, then I'll get a 4th one in also. But it's easy to keep track of. So I just carry my water bottle everywhere I go. If you see me out anywhere, I've got a water bottle in my hand. And that's just so I can hit that other goal that I'm wanting to do for a daily goal. And then, like I said, when we get up in the morning to make coffee, because I want to get my water, and I also put electrolytes in my first one. So I'll get my first bottle of water, put the electrolytes in it, take our supplements, and do that all while our coffee is brewing. So I have that all done already in the morning also.
Right.
And then another thing that's personal to me, my mom is 88 years old. She's almost 89. And I want to visit with her as much as possible. But when we're really busy, we can't really go over there a lot. So I try to call her whenever I go to work. Instead of listening to podcasts in the morning, I'll talk to my mom in the morning on the way to work, and then I'll listen to podcasts, in the afternoon on my way home from work. But that way I can get, I can keep up with my mom and doing all that when times come by that I can't go see her.
Right. Yep. So, and then our weekly that we like to make sure is done every week. This isn't done every day. So like the meal planning, which we do kind of do every day for the most part. We definitely do it. We definitely do it.
Yeah, we do the weekly meal planning on Sundays just so we can make sure that everything that we decided, we have time to go to the store, get it, and have it in the house for the rest of the week, so we don't have to worry about that. It doesn't do you any good to plan a meal and never go get the ingredients.
Checking the budget.
Check our budget every week.
And then the monthly is the giving blood.
Yep, get blood and listen to podcasts and books. That's all the stuff we do. So I know we've carried this on really long, but we just want to give you an idea. And that's something you guys can do if you want to, things that that you'd really love to do. Go out, make a list first, look at all the different things you have to do and figure out how can you stack these? How can you put 2, 3, 4 of these things together so you can wipe them out all at the same time? And if you can really do this, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more fulfilling life you're going to have, because you're not going to act like life happens to you. Like so many people, they think life happens to them. It's like, no, you make your own life with the choices you make. And this is the way to make the choices is think about it in advance and figure out how you're going to give time to them.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so what we would like for you to do is do that. Sometime just sit down with pen and paper or in front of a computer, however you want to do it, and just start naming off all the different things that you'd really, really like to do. Look at them. Maybe you want to use our firstlies, and categorize them under those values. And then, like I said, go through and try to figure out how you can stack these on them so you can get these things that you really want to get done. You actually can get them done, and just see how much better your life is, how much better you feel, and how much better you feel for yourself, because you're actually doing things that you want to do, that you think is important to you, and you're actually doing them. And just by doing those little things, that's going to give you momentum to start making even more lofty goals, to start going for those as well.
So we were hoping that by telling you what we do and our values, that would help you, because you don't have to use the same things at all, but just to help you out, especially if you follow our podcast and our channel, then you are trying to get healthy, lose weight, maybe get off medications. And so these, because that's where we focus a lot of our stuff. So it's like, walking and working out. We like learning new things, and it keeps us feeling young-ish. But
we're very youngish.
That's why we wanted to, bring this and let you guys know what we're doing, because I like hearing that. It's like, I never thought of, just like the walking on I had totally forgot Steve used to do that with walking on the treadmill, watching Andy Griffiths. Like, I could get on the treadmill or bounce on my rebounder, and I can watch something I want to watch on TV, and it makes the time goes by so much faster. And you're like, oh, I'll go, get on the treadmill or ride my Peloton or whatever and watch my show.
But be safe. Don't walk on a treadmill that's inclined while you're looking at your phone or the television, because you can fall off. Can't you, honey?
You can.
And you can hurt yourself, can't you, honey?
You can't. So just always be careful out there, you guys.
That's right. So that's all we have for today. I know we've taken up a lot more time than we usually do, but I really do think that making goals, short goals, achieving them, stacking in order to achieve the goals you want, and this way you can live a very happy life. And that's what we want. So once again, thank you so much for listening. Do have a wonderful week. And as always, make simple, healthy choices to live quality life.